Alright everybody, back with another deck breakdown. Today we're going to be going over the Frieza structure deck, the Clan Collusion. I know it's been about a week or so since this deck has actually come out, but wanted to give the deck a little bit of breathing room so we can kind of mess around with it, and found out that it's really not super playable till set 10 comes out. But there are some ways you can still play it right now. But I'm going to go over sort of just two different variations of the deck that I find are very, very good. Both of them at different price points. Both of them could be for two different types of players. So just make sure you guys like this video, like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of these two deck ideas, and let me know if there's any leaders you want to see me do a breakdown of in the future. So with Frieza, or Last Resort Frieza, this is a very hand control-y, just green style of deck, which is just very, very good. Very, very on brand for someone like Frieza. Now, with this leader, you could choose one Frieza army card in your battle area, place it in the drop, and then when you attack a leader, you get to basically take a life, up to one life, and your opponent drops a card from their hand. On the Awakened side, whenever you do this, you get to pick a card from your opponent's hand to drop it, and then your Unison gets crit for the turn. Very, very nice, because you have built-in Self-Awaken if you need to use it. You don't need to take a life, but you can, and that's the important part. Very easy hand control, and also on your Awakened turn, you can really kind of rip your opponent's hand. So you can use your auto on your Unawakened side to basically pop a card, take a card from your opponent's hand, or your opponent drops a card, you take a life. After the attack, you can Awaken, untap one, draw one. And then on the other side, you can, bring a Frieza army card back onto the board, and then pop it, and then you get to take another card out of your opponent's hand. Extremely strong. Being able to give your Unison crit as well just makes it so that you can just constantly just rip cards from your opponent's hand. And it comes with a brand new Frieza archetype that is pretty interesting to say the least. So some deck building basics we're going to go over for this leader is we want drop area mechanics, and we want to be able to recycle our hand destruction components back into our hand from the drop area or the deck. So this is going to be very, very important. Also, utilizing our multiple 1 and 2 drops for good. We just don't want to just spam the board with a bunch of 1 and 2 drops when we can only pop 1 or 2, 1 basically per turn, 2 if you're technically awakening that turn. But we don't want to just leave a bunch of stuff on the board, so we need to find a way to utilize their spam ability, as well as finding ways to use more actions with less energy. Now, obviously, this deck, you cannot have Saiyans in this deck. It says on the front side of the deck, so we can't use cards like Broly, even though he is technically a Frieza army, and we can't use cards like Paragus and things like that, because if you could, this deck would be even more broken. So that's okay, but we do have to find a way to kind of end the game with something that's a big boss finisher that we can just play it on one turn and end the game. All right, so for the sort of the hard mode deck, I guess you can call it, uses a lot of the stuff that comes from the actual structure deck itself. This is sort of what I came up with a very interesting idea. So we use 6 Unisons, so 4 from the structure deck and 2 Golden Frieza Unison of Malice from set 10. This one's very cool because we can draw a card, choose one card in our hand and put it on the top of our deck, and then this card gets crit, so instead of having to be awakened, we can just give this card crit anyways. But the second activate main is extremely good for late game. Anytime you're on until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot attack a battle card unless they choose one battle card with the energy cost of 2 or more and place it in the drop area. So if your opponent has one battle card on the field, they swing, they basically just can't swing. They have to pop another card. So basically, big boards, you're gonna make the board actually basically remove itself, which is pretty good. It's a very interesting way of like self-destruction of your opponent. And then obviously this Frieza here will allow us to play things allow us to put cards in the drop area, which then triggers a ton of effects that we'll be able to show off in this deck. We use Dodoria the Cold-Blooded. It's a self-awakening, double strike card. Double strike's gonna be really good this set. A lot of YouTubers are talking about this, but double strike allows you to, remove Unisons much quicker. Being able to just swing at them with double strike or triple attack, you can just pop Unisons much quicker and get them out of the way. 3 Shocking Death Ball, just because it is a negate that we want to run. Now this card here, Dodoria, Frieza's Devoted Servant. This is one of the best cards in the deck. So this card here allows us to, if we put it in the drop area by a skill, we have to play it out of our drop area. So If we have something like this, Frieza's Army Healing Pod on board, which says whenever we play a green battle card from the drop area, we draw one. This is once per turn. We can use the Frieza Zeno here to basically put a card from into the drop area and then draw one. So we put this in the drop area, draw a card, and when this card goes to the drop area, we get to play it out for free. So we get this body on board, and then we draw a card from this. Pretty good. Then we can use our leader ability when we swing to pop this, send this to the drop area, rip a card from our opponent's hand, take a life, so we get to draw another card, and then pay 1 green energy to put this card back in our hand. Mind-blowing. Extremely strong. It's going to be the most, I feel like probably the most powerful form of hand destruction in this next set is going to be this archetype. This card here, it's so good, which is why we run a 4 of. Dormant Potential Unleashed. This is basically Green's version of Flying Nimbus. It does not negate the attack, unless they are 2 or less, because you can KO them. But it makes it so that your opponent can only attack 1 more time this turn. Stops, stops any type of storm board. Puts Vegex kind of on ice, and you can play it out for free if you have a Unison on board, which is really nice. 4 Frieza Army Healing Pod because we want to see it turn 1. Be able to play it out. It also has another main where you can activate for 4 energy, 2 green, 2 colorless. You get to play out a 4 or less from your drop area. When we have a 1 4 or less that we're targeting in this particular deck. Well, we can play out any of these and be fine, but this is kind of the one that we want to target. 3 Infernal Emperor Friezas. This, when you play this card, you get to draw 1 card from your life. It's just another target that we can use. Very cheap card. Play it out, take a life. You swing with this, or you swing with leader first, or yeah, you probably swing with this first, swing damage. Swing with this, pop this, take another life, make your opponent drop a card. Pretty good. The next card is going to be Zarbon, Frieza's right-hand man. This is another card that came out of the structure deck. This card allows you to search the top 5 for a green Unison. Sorry, a little stuffy. Or a 4 or less Frieza Army card from our deck, add it to our hand, then shuffle. We actually get to search both of these out because these are both 2 or less. These are both 2 specific cost green Unisons. The second effect is for 1 green energy, you can warp this card and give your leader or Unison 10k for the battle, which is really nice because we're swinging in for crit. So this is really good because if we're swinging in for crit, we can just give our leader or our Unison 10k. Just makes it much more difficult to deal with. Frieza's Terrifying Transformation. When this card's removed by an opponent's skill, you get to draw 2. So when this card goes on the board, your opponent's going to want to remove it because it allows you to go into other Friezas. But if they do remove it, you get to draw 2. And for 1 green, you can choose up to 1 Frieza with the 4 or less from your hand or your drop area and play it on top of this card. And the target for this, in this particular deck, is going to be Frieza Cosmic Horror. When you play this card, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, or you get to choose one of your opponent's Unisons and remove a marker from it. It's a 20k dual attack, so we get to swing at, our opponent's Unison twice, take a marker off of it, basically deal 3 damage to it with just 1 energy, basically 1 energy. Ginyu, Frieza's Greatest Soldier. This is another one of those cards where when it's placed in the drop area from the battle area by a skill, so basically if it's KO'd, basically anything other than it being just KO'd by swinging, you get to return it to your hand. So it goes back to your hand. It just gives you more card advantage. When you play this, you get to choose one of your leaders or green Unisons, give it 10k for the turn. So if you're going in to deal some damage, you play this card out, give this Unison 10k, use this card's effect, draw a card, put a card back on top of your deck, get crit. Now it is a 25 damage crit base card. Super strong. 4 Zarbon the Gorgeous. This is our super combo since we can't play Paragus because we can't have Saiyan cards in this deck. This is the one we have to play. And because this is mono green, we're kind of keeping to the style of the deck. 4 Frieza Charismatic Villain. This is the big counterplay card. If you have a Unison card, 2 or less on board, two or more markers, I'm sorry. This card can be played for free. When you play this card, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, 7 or less, and KO them. So they put basically anything down but a secret rare, it's dead. You can play the card out for free and then KO it. Obviously, if it has barrier, it doesn't choose it, but it's okay. And then our big boss monster in this deck is going to be Rebrand Avatar of Affection. We get to play it and basically KO our entire opponent's board. When this card dies, we get to play a card out from our drop, negating its skill for the turn. So we can choose this, we could choose this, but mainly we're probably just going to choose this card in this deck. Now this is a Very low to the ground strategy. Doesn't have a ton of crazy stuff in it. Deck's sitting about $200, mainly because of the unison counterplay and this unison counterplay here. The decks, these cards obviously aren't out yet, so they can go down or up in price. So it's going to be hanging around between probably the $150 mark for this deck to $200. All right, so here we have the other variation of the Frieza leader that I have deck-wise. This one's going to be a little more expensive, but this one has a lot more hand destruction in it. So we'll go over quickly some of the older cards from the previous deck profile. We have Golden Frieza, which we run 4 of instead of 2 now. 3 of the Double Strike Dodorias instead of 4. Still 4 of the 1-drop Dodorias that play out from the drop area. 3 Dormant Potentials, 3 Frieza Army Healing Pods, 2 Ginyus, 4 Super Combos obviously, and instead of 2 Rebrians, we are running 3. And we're still running 4 of the Frieza Charismatic Villains. Now, for the other cards here, Seltzer Trunk Kamehameha, great extra card, allows your opponent to, basically makes your opponent drop another card, and you get to choose it, so it has your leader effect. Very, very strong. Chilai, Frieza Force Soldier, and Lemo here are kind of in tandem with each other. You get to play this card out for 1, allows you to draw a card. Then you can use this card to pop this, make your opponent drop a card. So you're plussing 1, your opponent's dropping a card. This card also has an effect where you can play out for 2 energy. You can play out a Lemo from your deck, or just a 2-drop Frieza. So you basically can choose, it's 2 or less. So you can play out this, you play out this, play out this, play out this, play out this, play out this. Mainly we're going to be using to play out Lemo. When we play out Lemo, if we have a Chilai BR in the battle area, which is this, our opponent drops a card. Very interesting hand destruction, and just a 15k attacker that we get to use. This Dodoria here, the Brimming with Power, this is a 2-drop. This is basically a 1-drop denial in a sense. So basically, if our opponent plays an energy cost of 2 or less, we get to play this card down, and instead of playing play, go to the drop. So if they play out Kakunsa as a negate, if they play out Topo, basically for 1 energy, you get to play this card down, send that card to the drop, and then you can use this card to be popped by your leader ability to make them drop another card. Super, super strong. Hasty Dispatch Dispo we run 2 of. If we have no battle cards in the battle area, we get to choose 1 battle card with energy cost of 1 from our drop, play with skills negated for the turn. This is really strong because let's say we're on our Awaken turn. We can pop this, or let's say we play this card down, draw a card, pop this with our leader effect, goes to the drop area, make them drop a card, Awaken, use Dispo to play this card back out, and then we can use his new active main to pop this card again to make our opponent drop a card. So make him drop 2 cards in 1 turn for basically 1 energy is pretty freaking fantastic. 4 Kakunsas for our negates. We don't run any extra card negates outside of Dormant Potential. So this is going to be our negate here. It's 2-drop. Get the KO a card on the field and negate this and negate the attack as well. So give this a 20k body for 2 energy. 2 Piccolo Simulated Ability, because I love this card. We're going to have a lot of battle cards on the board, so this Bond 2 is going to be extremely easy to get. Basically, active battle once per turn. You can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, 5 or less, KO it, and then draw a card. So we're plussing while we are destroying their board, and it has barrier. So there are cards that get through barrier, but it's not as many. Barrier is still pretty prominent. Certain archetypes, this card wouldn't be great in against, like the Cooler Engine, things like that, but barrier still is barrier. And then the big card that we added to this deck is going to be the Fuse Zamasu Deity's Wrath. Now you can't add the 3-drop, the Delicate Plan, Goku Black, because it is a Saiyan. So unfortunately you can't play out the 3-drop, which allows you to KO a 2-drop, and you can play out the 7-drop and all that other kind of stuff. We have to play this one. So this one says if you have 3 more energy, choose battle cards in your battle area with 5k power or more and a total energy cost of 5, place them in the drop area, and then play the card from your hand. So the interesting thing is we can play this card out. We can use it with this. There's a new Zarbon, and there's a new Zarbon that comes out as a promo or a tournament pack card that also has 5k. We can use that as well. So basically these cards here we can use, as well as these 2 cards here, and we can use those to play out this. Now this card here, or you also can use Ginyu as well, so you have a Ginyu on board. There's also the Negate Ginyu that's going to be coming out, which probably would take the place of this card here. But basically, you can use any of your smaller cards to play this card out. Once this card is played, it has Indestructible, so very few things can get through Indestructible. But whenever you swing with this card, your opponent has to drop a card. So it just says when this card attacks. It doesn't say when it attacks a leader. So you can just swing at Unison cards and just make them drop a card, and they're not getting any resources back. Now, obviously, you can say, well, hey, why didn't you play Xenocell? I don't feel like Xenocell is very good in this format of a deck, just because we're playing a lot of small cards and not a ton of big stuff. I say big stuff, but we have obviously all these 5-drops here. I don't think it's super successful. You can still try it. It may work, but I found just more success with keeping this deck very, very low to the ground. This being the most expensive card that we would play for 5 energy, and then using the Bardock is sort of these 2 cards is sort of our game-winning cards. This deck sort of runs around about $500. Charismat, the Unison counterplay for Frieza is extremely expensive. Piccolo went back up in price. Cocoon's is pretty expensive too, so this is a more of an expensive green deck. But if you already have a lot of the green stuff, this deck can work. You basically just buy the structure decks. These cards here, this card's like $5 now, so it's probably one of the more expensive small cards that you have to buy. But it is what it is. It's a very, very strong green deck. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments of these 2 deck ideas. Let me know what changes you would make to these decks. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.